Hello, third grade artist. Mrs. Gordon here. I am so happy to see you. Uh, see you. And today we are going to start our second project. The first project was a little get to know you project. And I loved seeing your Bitmoji used that were shared with me and reading about what you wrote in your Google form. Today we're going to start learning about the elements of art, line and shape. These are not new elements of art to you. You've learned about them in first and second grade if you've been with me. But we're going to start learning about line and shape as it relates to the artist Heather Galler and these beautiful folk art landscapes that she makes. So right now you're just watching the introduction video. After you're done watching this video, you're going to go through the slideshow. It's the lesson. That's next. You're going to click on that. You'll have more time to look at the slides and to look at the art, and you will have time to watch the videos that are embedded in the slideshow. So we're going to review line and shape today. We're going to be analyzing folk art landscapes. We're going to think, reflect, and record. And today you need a pencil and your trusty art journal. We've talked about elements of art before. Elements of art are what artists use to make art. So there are 7 elements of art: line, shape, form, space, color, value, and texture. One way that artists can make art is with lines, as you know. They can draw lines or paint lines or scratch lines or collage lines. There are lots of different ways that they can make lines, and there are lots of different lines that they can make. And here are some lines that they can make. Curved, castle. I wonder what your favorite is. Maybe you'll tell me in a message. After you take a look at the lines, you're going to watch the line song by Scratch Garden, always a favorite. I still, every time I watch it, I crack up with the bunny going down the hill. Then you're going to be thinking about and taking a look at the element of art shape, because we're going to be using line and shape in our art inspired by Heather Galler. So another way that artists can make art is with shapes. They can draw shapes or paint shapes or cut out shapes and collage them like we did in second grade with Matisse. There are lots of different ways that they can create art with shapes and lots of different shapes that they can use and create with. And remember, in art, there are basically 2 kinds of shapes. There are geometric shapes and organic shapes. And I'll tell you more about that when we're in the video and practicing lines and shapes in our journal. So after you take a look at the different kinds of shapes, you're going to watch this video from Robot Art School on shape. And then you'll be ready to practice drawing some lines and shapes with me in your journal. So you'll need a pencil and your journal, and I'll help you then you'll go to this slide and you'll watch the video where I'll help you get your journal set up, and you'll practice drawing lines and shapes in your journal. After you're done practicing your lines and shapes, you're going to be meeting the artist, Heather Galler. She's a contemporary artist. That means she is living and making art right now. And she lives in Rochester, New York, which is upstate New York, northern New York. She is very well known for her folk art landscapes. Folk art is a style of art that typically has decorative designs and really bold colors. And it's typically like, you know what you're looking at. You know you're looking at a landscape or a house or a tree, but it won't look realistic because of the simplified shapes that they use or the bright colors that they use or the elaborate patterns that they used. So here you can watch a video and see some art made by Heather Galler, and it'll show you lots of different kinds of landscapes. And you can always pause the video, and if you're like, oh, that's a really cool line right there, I want to add this like fence line in here, you can grab your journal and draw and sketch that line on the line page. Or if you like, oh, this is a really cool shape, I love how they use this kind of like oval, it almost looks like a semicircle but with the end cut off, and you want to draw that in your shape page, you can. So you can pause it and record some of those lines and shapes in your journal. Okay, then you're going to be taking a look at some of Mrs. Galler's art close up, you're going to think to yourself, what do I see? How do these pieces of art make me feel? What colors do I see? What shapes do I see? What lines do I see? And then you're going to grab your journal again. You're going to be like, oh, I love how she did this like detail on the trees with the spiral lines. Or, wow, this tree is really cool. I want to draw that tree on my shape page. And you're going to practice, or you're like, oh, I love this, pentagon that she made. Or this is a really cool line here. It's a curved line with curved lines on it. And you're going to practice drawing some of those lines and shapes that you see. You're going to analyze her art and think about what you like and what you don't like, and what's interesting to you. Then, friends, that's going to be it for the day. We're going to practice some lines and analyze them, and then you're ready to think about these questions. What elements of art did you learn about? And what did you learn about art or the artist? And how did you practice your art, or how did you make your art? You're going to click here to record your answers. So this first question is pretty simple because it's just a drop-down menu and you click the elements of art that you learned about. This one, I want you to say, I learned, and if you say, I learned about Heather Galler, well, that's a good start, but what did you learn about Heather Galler? Or, I learned that Heather Galler makes folk art, or I learned that folk art uses bright colors, or I learned that folk art uses simplified geometric shapes, or something like that. And then when it says, how did you practice your art, or how did you make your art, you would want to say, like I drew, and then think about what did you draw? I drew lines and shapes with a pencil in my journal. That might be a really great way to answer that question. Next week, we will review what we learned this week. We'll also start a drawing of landscapes inspired by Heather Galler. You will need next week a pencil, and you will need a black marker or a crayon, or black crayon. You will also need a big blank piece of thick paper. If you don't have art paper at home, a great thing to do is to grab a paper bag from a grocery store and use that. Use like the non-written on side, cut it out, and so you have a nice big piece of paper. That's what I'll probably use too. The way to get credit for this project and what you did today is by completing the Google form. But if you want to share with me, remember you can always snap a picture and share it through Schoology, or if your parents have Twitter or Instagram, you can share it with me there. Great to see you today, friends. I've missed you. I can't wait to see you in person when it's safe for us to be back in person. I hope you're well. Please stay well.